And I'm Madeline.
And we're from the Santa Barbara Middle School Teen Press. And tonight we are here with
AMY WENDEL.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Your movie, Relatively Normal, was originally a podcast during COVID. What was that process from writing to recording to distributing? What made you change your mind and think it would be better as a movie? We watched it. It was amazing.
Okay, yes, I want to ask you questions too afterwards. Well, I started writing it as a narrative podcast, which you don't generally hear a lot about. Sometimes certain narrative podcasts will be made into movies, transferred and, made into scripts and movies. But I never made the podcast though. I wrote it and realized that two things. One, I went to school to be a filmmaker. I've made films. I have this is my second feature, and I love the moving image and the story that tells. And two, I was worried that as a narrative podcast, people might not see it. Because I think in general, people listen to podcasts because it's their favorite news show or their favorite comedian or it's a book on tape.
Yeah.
So those were the reasons. However, because I wrote the podcast, I really knew the characters extremely well. So then making a script from the podcast wasn't so difficult because I knew the characters.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then once you had to come up to that conclusion, what were the challenges that came with that change?
Well, writing a script, there's always challenges. Because any art form has challenges, whether you're a painter or a sculptor or a playwright. And the challenge is always, is this authentic? And are the characters real? And is the drama the story I want to tell? And so those challenges present themselves no matter what. What's particularly challenging in film is that, unlike a novel where you can get a backstory of a character because they tell it to you, either in third or first person, in a script you don't have that. You have an image. And so what can you convey in an image that's powerful where you don't overwrite it? You don't overtell it, so it's cliched or obvious, but you don't undertell it so people understand it. So it's always walking a fine line about what the moving image is. So that was the challenge, is what presents itself in every challenge writing a script.
You made many short films, in 2011, the feature All She Can. How was making Relatively Normal different?
Okay, that's such an interesting question. It's a lot of the same components, and then I'll get to what's different. What's the same is that when you have a great script, you're going to, with great cast, have a great movie. So the components are really all in pre-production. The decisions you're making, are you done with the script? The decisions of casting, who's going to shoot your film, what locations are you using, what's your budget? All those decisions you make in pre-production are the critical decisions to making a successful movie. So the challenges present themselves the same in either of those movies. What was particularly challenging for Relatively Normal was that it was extremely lower budget. And we wanted to make it look, of course, like it's not. And I believe it doesn't look as low budget. I feel like it looks like a really bona fide professional looking film, and the acting is incredible. However, it was stretching every penny. And that was, even though my prior film was also low budget, this was even less money. So stretching that. However, because it's COVID, it's in one location. But the challenge is making that location seem interesting. Is there enough going on in the location, enough with the dialogue and the action that keeps people riveted or keeps people interested in what's going on?
Yeah.
Definitely. You said in the Q&A that the community of Santa Barbara made this film happen. Can you give me some examples of how?
Yeah, sure. So because one of our producers is from here and has a set of relationships where she's worked in this community for so long, she was able to get the support we were with her set of relationships that she has in getting things we wanted for not a lot of money. And so that was true. And then secondly, because of that, things fell into place. The locations fell into place, the crew fell into place, the cast fell into place. And so because of that, and also Santa Barbara, unlike LA, you have quieter streets and you can, it was quiet. It wasn't busy. We were on a dead end street, as you could probably see. And so we could actually manage things because you have to work very quickly. We shot this in 16 days, whereas my prior film was 23 days. 16 days is very, very fast.
That's so
It's very
fast.
And it's a 90-page script. It's a 90-minute film. So you don't have time to wait for airplanes. You don't have time to wait for a party next door. You don't have time to wait for a neighbor complaining about shouting, you know. So in that way, it was great to shoot here in many ways and get the
Yeah.
support. Also, the film festival was amazing. The crowd and how people in Santa Barbara show up for film and want to watch it and engage with the filmmakers and support the filmmakers. Just you really could feel that in the room. So in all ways, Santa Barbara was a great place to shoot the film.
That's awesome. And also 16 days is crazy.
16 days.
Good job. That's all I can say. Um talk sorry. Talk about your roles as both writer and director. Your characters have many conflicts and emotions that you present in different ways, both verbally and silently. How do you make sure that all emotions are shown even when internal? What was that process?
Okay, what was the process?
Sorry.
So there was a few, will you ask the question one more time? Just so
So, you talk about your roles as both writer and director. Your characters have many conflicts and emotion over that you present in different ways, both verbally and silently. How did you make sure all emotions were shown, even when they were internal? What was that process?
Right. So the first question is, it's great to be the writer and the director because, well, in some ways you take off the writer hat to be the director because the actor is bringing their own nuanced gifts to the role
Yeah.
that are unanticipated. So I want to be open to that and not close down like, oh, that's not what's written. I'm not that kind of director. I like to be, what are they bringing? What are they bringing their own, what own story are they bringing to the character that helps the character? So in some ways I keep the writer hat on because I know the characters well. And in other ways I shed the writer hat when I'm directing. I do both and kind of vacillate between the two. Oh, I mean, when you have the kind of thoroughbreds and actors that I had and was grateful to have, it's so fun. It's like a ride. You just buckle up. And so because those tensions were already in the script, but then the actors, you could feel the chemistry between them. And Chloe and Grant knew each other from high school. So you can kind of, it was, of course, an actor, that would happen anyway. They're brother, sister, they're in the screen, they would make that happen. But I think that was an extra gift as well, that they had a prior history together. Like there's things she did, like where she threw the bread at him, or there's things she just where she flipped his head, or and she might have done those anyway, but I think because they'd already been on stage together in their local high school, it just made that easier.
Yeah, definitely. And then you said in the Q&A that you
Enlisted.
enlisted Chloe Coleman as a producer as well as an actor. Tell us what a producer does in general and how Chloe helped your film in that role.
Right. Well, so there's producers and there's executive producers, so they're different roles. So Chloe, this is her first foray into executive producing, which was great. She has had a lot of experience on set. I mean, she's a professional actor and has been an actor since she was young. And so really just help us with the casting and help bring that to life and help with the room design and set design, and also just kind of the overview of the whole script, like understanding from the first scene to the last and the cohesiveness of it. And so it was really great to get her take on that as we, with 16 days. With 16 days, everyone has to bring their best self and also wear multiple hats. And sometimes you'll find on a film crew, you won't touch a light because that's not your job. And it's true with union rules and things like that. You wouldn't break that. However, with our film, everyone had to pitch in, and that's one of the things she did as executive producer as well.
Yeah.
That's awesome. There are movies in the there's whoa sorry there are moments in the movie where you showed our images illustrating feelings that happened during COVID. How did you come up with this idea, and where did you find the artists and their art?
Okay, so I really felt for teens during COVID. I have 3 boys of my own who were 15, 13, and 11 at the time, and I just felt so terrible for young adults, and I couldn't get them out of my mind. And I was reading a lot too about increase in eating disorders and mental health issues and in drug use, and I just felt like these seminal moments in your lives were stripped. I know you were much younger, but still, you might have seen that with other families, and then I started to write from that idea. So that's how the idea came, is that I felt for teens and wanted to write a story about that. And not be, I know the movie has a certain like it's not brutal to watch. I didn't want to make it brutal to watch. It exists in a certain level, tonally and aesthetically. And so that was also very important to me from the very beginning, is to exist in that world without feeling like super gut punched. I thought COVID was enough of that, so it was kind of trying to create a buffer and a cushion for viewers as well. But the art, so it was in the Times, New York Times, it was teens on a world that changed everything. And it was about how the Times had culled all this artwork from teens who wanted to submit about what their, like, the art was symbolic and their own feelings about COVID. And so they were in the New York Times article, and I printed it out, and I would always look at it, and I was like, I'm going to find a way to make this, to get this in the film. So in the script, I had moments where it would be these, like an interlude, like it would be this, and so they existed from the very beginning in the script. And so then it was about contacting those artists. When we wrapped, right, now we're in post and we're editing and we're doing all this stuff, we have to get the rights to that artwork. And so I had to scurry around and contact, like, it's amazing who you can find online. I found them. And because, you know, the New York Times journalist couldn't give me their names. Like, she couldn't, of course, give me their names and numbers. That wouldn't be appropriate, and that would be illegal. And so I would never have done it that way anyway. But I found them, and they were thrilled to be have their art in the film. So that's where the artwork came from, is this Times article.
Wow.
That's awesome.
And then, how did directing Relatively Normal change your outlook on COVID, and what should we take away from the film now, post-COVID?
I hope it is like a talking point. I've been thinking about this question. I hope it's kind of cathartic, that people can, because people have come up to me and said, wow, I was reminded of things I didn't really want to be reminded of, but it was good in a way. Or someone would come up to me and say, I lost a parent in that, and so I really related to the moment that they lose their grandfather. And I hope it's a piece that people can talk about. And it's not just COVID. There's obviously sexual misconduct in the film, and there's these other elements, spoiler alert. But I just feel like I'm hoping the film can be a way for discussion and talk, and for kids to have fun. Like, there's funny moments that the brother says. I mean, the brother's, he's exhausting, but he's also very funny. So, yeah, I'd say that's my hope, is people see it and feel that it can be something that brings them back to think about it and contemplate it, but also kind of lets them off gas and relieve the kind of stress that we all had in that time.
Yeah, definitely.
What's next for Relatively Normal? We love our family and friends to be able to watch it.
Too. So I want to ask you all. So we are going to other festivals, but we are applying to other festivals, but we don't have, and we're talking to sales agents to get it bought and to hopefully be on TV. I'm not sure it's a theater film. I'm not sure that, it's also really hard to get movies in theaters now. I'm sure you maybe discussed something about the film industry in your class, but if you have that as part of the subject matter. But so my goal is to get into more festivals. My goal is to get it bought. In the meantime, I've been wondering about how to get teens to see it, and I'm not sure what the avenue is there. So I've been thinking about this.
Please let us know, because we want our family to be able to see it.
And then,
You go.
and then our last question is, if you could give us one homework assignment, what would it be?
Great question. Gosh, I love it. There's this thing in the gym that talks about if you're not moving forward, if you're not uncomfortable. Like, there's this poster, and I have to now get the wording of it, but I think the idea is your assignment is artistic in that do something that requires you to have courage and live in the uncertainty of it while you move through it and figure out, how will I get people to see this, if you want people to see it. I think it's important to learn to be uncomfortable in the arts.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. It was so nice talking to you.
So nice talking
talking to you too. I have a quick. What were you gonna say?
Your answers were like amazing.
Oh,
Great to
good.
hear.
Oh, good. I try to always like infuse something you might not know, which was like the 16 days, for instance. I was curious what your thoughts were of the film. Like, did you like what sat well with you, or what were you like, it didn't sit well? And I'm so good with feedback. Like, what worked for you or might not have worked for you?
I go with what worked with me. I thought it was a very good way, like you said, with the bluffer of how like you still got the like funny elements and like what action and like things that like I might have seen as a family member, or like things that like might have been going on for some other families that I didn't know about, but at the same time showing like this joke and this kind of like these funny moments that happen. And I loved that how it became kind of, you're able to watch it without feeling like really heavy, but able to also sift through your feelings while you're watching it.
Good.
And yeah, I feel like it was also like very like it brought us back to the COVID, which was like somewhat, it was like I don't want to go there again, but also it was like we like went through this and it was hard, but like we overcame it and we like learned from it, and like now we're a different person, and it like helped us become who we are today.
Yeah, I got that. Is there something that I'm really curious in?
Um,
Is there something that didn't work for you?
I think, what do you think? I think one,
It was a really good movie.
I don't know if I have any things. That was really good. We really enjoyed it. I think I rated 5 stars for the thing. Um,
So good.
I think, ooh, I don't have any bad things. I mean, I loved also seeing like some Santa Barbara elements. Like I saw the Rusty's Pizza and I was like, that's my pizza place. So that was also really awesome. But yeah.
The ending was so good, and it just like makes me want to like see if there's another one, because like I love romances.
Right.
It was like
What
very
happens
like
next?
Yes. She was going to her crush. Come on.
Were you expecting when he kept passing by that something might happen?
Yeah. We said it.
When she went to sit down on the bench, where you're like, before you saw him, where you're like, he's coming.
Yeah, we did. We actually did. Oh, we looked at each other and went, he's coming.
you're like, she's gonna walk up to him.
Yeah, she's got to. Yeah, we got really excited. We got really excited.
Distance, he was out of focus. You're like, there he is.
Yeah, we got so excited. Yeah. Also, I love dogs, so won me over immediately.
So one of the dogs was mine, and one was the producer's dog. He walked the producer's dog, Jill Levinson's dog. But do you remember the woman where the dog starts barking and
Oh yeah.
I go by very quickly with my dog on that one. So we even got the dogs a role in
Love
the film.
dogs.
Movie started.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Nice. Well, nice to meet you, and I hope to see your movie someday.
Keep you posted.
Yeah.
Oh, if you want to tell your friends that, well, look, if you've seen it, to go on to Letterboxd.
Letterboxd. Okay, I will. Letterboxd and rate relatively normal. Okay, noted. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you.